sunk an enemy destroyer.
All right, class. What have we learned about choosing the right commander skills?
My dad said if I don't take Last Stand, I'm a total douchebag.
Oh, Billy, but here's Ripper with today's lesson.
Hey team, this is Ripper here. You guys are doing fantastic today. Got a fun video talking about how do I pick my commander builds for destroyers. Since I'm a DD main, how do I go about my thought process about picking it, and kind of breaking down what each exactly or specific commander build does. And maybe that will help you guys that are trying to play destroyers, or just understanding, or even just a fun video to talk about. I think it's a great campfire, bar talk. In the pilot world, we always sit around the hangar and talk about the things we learn and what we can do from it. This is kind of hangar talk, but hope this helps. And as always, before we get into subscribe button below, appreciate all the supporters of the channel. You see value what we're doing here today, smash those buttons. Thanks a lot for stopping by, and enjoy the show, and I hope you get something out of it. So right here, I'm just gonna go over a couple. I'm just using this as a backdrop. Again, we could talk about all 20 different types of destroyers out there, but I'm not gonna go do that. I'm just gonna talk about what does each individual, I guess you could say, build is available there. And you can see what each individual thing does, and how I would go about thinking about building something for any particular type of destroyer. Let me see if I can pick somebody that I have not used yet. Maybe something that is still available. Okay, so here's a great example of, here's a good kind of starter build. I haven't used this guy for anything, so I'm just literally messing around with this. So it's a demo, so please, this is not the final build for what destroyer do I have? Sherman? Yeah. I'm just doing a generic, this is kind of my platform to build things and play around. Again, this is a 3-point commander. Of course, I have 21-point commanders, and I have those on the main ships, but this is how I kind of build it. So what do I do when I think about going down the line of picking a build for a particular destroyer? Well, first of all, you got to know what destroyer are you playing and what is its specialty. And again, I've done a video about that, and I've kind of broken it down. Check that out about which destroyer does what and what role do they play, and that kind of factors in of how you want to build your commander builds. But the majority of the time, I notice Wargaming has these builds that are typically, honestly, the same. The first 10 points normally are the same ones for most destroyers, and I think that's kind of dull. I wish Wargame would make it a little bit more variety, allow you to try out different things that actually add value, and rather than just being, well, if it's going to be like this every time, just build it into the ship, right? Why even go down this path? But whatever. The first row, obviously, these are 1 point. The second row is 2 points. Third row is 3 points. And the last one is 4 points. And you have a total of 21. So you got to do the math and figure out what is the best computation and combination to get you the best thing you want to do. The first row, normally how I look at it, for a destroyer player that likes to open water gunboat, dodge shells and everything, you have to think about survivability. I always opt for incoming fire alert. Why? Incoming fire alert is the best thing out there for a destroyer that really wants to have situational awareness to dodge incoming shots, because guess what? Everybody's going to fire you regardless of what you're going to do. Trust me, you're the prime target out there. Everybody kills the destroyer because why? You are the most critical component of the game. If they don't kill you, you will run amok amongst their team, and they don't want that. If you kill the destroyer on the opposing team, you're going to have a better chance of winning, and that's why everybody wants to shoot at you. Because of that, you need to have situational awareness and know what's incoming so you can do something different. Change a vector, slow down, turn, do something different so that the shot that they fired at will miss. And I've noticed that my survivability drastically increases when I dodge people shooting at me, because, I mean, if they miss, they miss. So the first thing is incoming fire alert. I normally pick that. Why? Because, again, it's 1 point. It's cheap. It's easy. Back in the day, we used to pick priority target, which would let you know how many people are looking at you. But then again, if they're looking at you, they're not really they don't have to fire at you. Okay. I don't really think that helps me a lot, as opposed to, dude, when someone fires at me from long range, mostly cruisers and battleships, I know that, hey, I'm in danger, and boom, I need to make a drastic change or decision. Because why? This is kind of worthless to me, priority target, to know how many people are looking at me, because I already know if I'm detected, that means people are looking at me. I'm just going to assume the worst, that everyone looks at me, and especially since I'm Ripper, everybody kind of knows me out there now. They're like, dude, kill this guy. Ripper, kill Ripper. Everybody does that anyway, so I'm like, I face it, whatever. But anyways, incoming fire alert, that's the first one I pick. The second one priority, if you want to, and not pick that one, you can choose the preventative maintenance, which just basically increases survivability of your modules, secondary batteries, and AA mounts. Which secondary battery, who cares? You don't have them. AA is trash anyways. Who cares? They get damaged anyways. Once they're damaged, they're damaged. 15% is not really selling me on it. And modules, I really don't see many people breaking my modules as much, and if they break them, they're going to break them even if with a minus 30% because the armors are so cheap anyways. I don't care about the gun feeder. I don't switch shells. I mean, switching shells between most destroyers is fast anyways. I mean, think about it. Your reloads are down to 2 to 3 seconds, so you can switch guns no problem. The consumable specialist skill, that just brings your consumables. Depending on what kind of consumables you have, maybe you'll want to opt for this to get faster recharges on your consumables, so that may come into play when you're focus on hydros, radar, smokes, things of that nature. So think about that. I really don't care about the flooding aspect of it because whatever, torpedoes are torpedoes, and main traverse for the batteries. So this may come into play for the heavier destroyers like the Elbing and maybe heavier, the ones with slow turret traverse, Kleber, Khabarovs maybe. I mean, those ones if you would like to play that way. But again, I think number one is incoming fire alert for me. I want to have situational awareness to survive. The next one is a no-brainer. Always, please, for the love of God, pick last stand. Why? Because if you break an engine or break your rudder, you're stuck and dead in the water. You can't do shit, okay? I'm just letting you know. And that's important because why? You need to keep mobile and moving. Even if they break it with this thing on, you still are able to at least maneuver and escape or do something. But if you don't have it, try it out, man. You're going to realize it's the last mistake you'll ever make again. I've played without this thing before, and when you get a broken rudder, you can't turn. It just keeps stuck turning left or right or just going straight. And also, it breaks your engine. You can't even go forward, back, or reverse. You're just stuck and dead in the water. And, dude, you could get hydroed radar to death. You're dead. So that's my thought on that. Always pick this one to survive. The next one is a questionable one. It depends on how much HP that you'll have. I normally rock it with the majority of the older destroyers that have low, like 22,000, 23, 20,000. So I always pick this to boost the survivability. It just basically gives you more HP. You can notice here, the Sherman's not really required with 25-ish thousand, and then you add a flag onto it. Not bad. I think the 25,000 HP pool is a decent one, and especially if you have heals, okay, maybe you can make a decision as to whether or not you want to add this or not. But again, for those destroyers that don't have heals, yeah, I can see the argument of having it more to boost your survivability in the long run. Or like I said, you can try being a gunboat and not have it and play with these other points. But again, majority of the time, I've seen survivability expert is a must, especially if you don't have heals, because you're going to need those extra HP to survive. Or again, just stay undetected the majority of the time. That's my thought on that. Okay. Notice that we're up to 7 point a total of 7 points right so far. So that's what the first 7 are, and the last one normally is the 4-pointer. So I'm sorry. Wait, 1, 2, 6 points. Sorry, forgive me. 6 points so far. With the fourth, that's 10 points right here. Here's 10 points right there. This is up to you guys how you want to do this. So again, concealment is the next one. Obviously, majority of the time as a destroyer player, you want to stay concealed. So to stay concealed, you need to have concealment expert. It really plays a part because look, if I take this off, look what happens to the Sherman. Concealment's out to 7.2. That means you get out detected by the majority of everything, and you don't want to do that, and it sucks. It gets perma-spotted the whole time by a Shima or some Jaeger that really you can't find. And now the only decision is either take the blunt of the shots or you're going to have to run away and go undetected or smoke up. So really, I like to play concealment for the majority of things. Now, for the open water gunboaters and that have smoke, I could see myself not using that. And you'll see a couple other builds that I don't use it because I want to go full gunboat, okay? But this is the basic setup, the idea of right here. I was always taught that this is kind of the similar one. Of course, incoming fire alert, some people say, nah, I don't need it, but preventive maintenance to have that better. So this normal line right here is what people usually do. I like incoming fire alert because it's another thing of defensive capabilities. You'll always use this rather than preventative maintenance. You see, this one at least gives me some kind of SA, situational awareness, as to what to do and where to go. Okay, so there's the first 10. The next 11 is, again, dependent upon how you want to play your destroyer. So for a gunboat destroyer, the next one, always pick Adrenaline Rush. So this is the first kind of 13 is the standard builds for a majority of my destroyers. Right here, a must. And you can see these yellow arrows are the recommendations from Wargaming. They think that, hey, this is how it's supposed to be played. And most of the time, the yellow arrows are correct. This is kind of how I see. You can tell already I've already kind of followed the path of the yellow except for the first one. So this is typically what I would always start with around the 13-point mark. Have these is a definite must, okay? Now, the next one is up to you guys how you want to play, because the third row is probably the most important row as for me, depending on your play style and what you plan on doing. I like open water gunboating and more of the spotting, torping, capping, and doing all that whatnot. For Unbreakable line, way more heavy focused on gun build. But let's just talk about basic competitive, basic randoms, and if you can even play this with Unbreakable line. I normally go, depending upon, let's say if I'm playing a Gearing, a Sherman, or a Daring or something, I need gun reload. So I always opt in for the main battery A specialist. Main battery, basically, you get 5% better reload time. It doesn't sound like much, but for some reason, why not? I would rather have faster guns, the fastest guns I can, and Adrenaline Rush is going to kick in as well as I lose my HP. You get 1%, 1% HP loss. You get these values added to your main battery reload time. So eventually they begin to stack on each other, and it does very, very well. I kind of like these builds right here. So this is kind of like a standard, maybe just torpedo gunboat build, and that's how I would play it. Now, for things like a Gearing or something that's heavily focused on torpedoes, maybe like maybe Shima if you're playing it. I don't play too many, let's see here, destroyers that are, let's see here. Let me take off the restrictions here. See, what other destroyers, in my personal opinion, have torpedoes that I use a lot? Yo Yang, maybe. Really, and Holland. Maybe those are the couples that are in Shima, and those are the only few. I mean, you notice the majority of them are gunboat destroyers. There's only a select few that really require this skill right here, which is torpedo reload time 10%. So 10%, what am I really getting out of 10%? Is it really worth it? And how many times am I firing torpedoes? That's why, yeah, it's cool. Like, you notice, like, my torpedo reload, it goes 7 seconds. What am I getting out of those 7 seconds? Okay, so would you rather have faster guns that are more reliable, consistent, you're always shooting your guns, as opposed to being a stealth torpedo build for 10%, for 7 seconds? That's why I normally don't pick this. I kind of save it maybe if there's nothing else available for the torpedo destroyers, like the Gearing or so forth. But really, I'm rocking the main battery, the Adrenaline Rush, and then, of course, this is where I start breaking off into what are you playing. So right off the bat right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we already have, what's it, 1, 3, 6, there's 10, here's 16. So I have 5 points left, right? So 16 plus 5 is 21. So I have 5 points left as to what to pick. This is where it starts, varying off of to what kind of destroyer player that you want to be. For the open water gunboats that recommend these, so you can see the yellow arrow is the main battery expert. You get the plus 20% firing range. Not a reload, a firing range. Again, look at the range of the guns here. I'm just showing you Sherman. Does 15 kilometers really make you good, or does 12.6, is that satisfactory? Depends on how you want to play it. I like for the long-range gunboats, you're going to have it, like Ragnar, Sherman, Khabarovsk, Hull, things that are out there, open water gunboating. You want to go out and reach somebody. Normally, I'm not engaging people at 15. I'm normally trying to shoot at 13 and 14, and maybe even opposing some 12 kilometers. So that's why I picked that for that reason. That is also one thought about it. I don't really care about Swift and Silent because I suffer a main battery, which negates this one, by the way. So why pick a thing that takes this away? So I normally don't rock the Swift and Silent thing unless you're playing, like I said, a Shimikaiser or Torpedo guy the whole time. I don't do that. The other one is radio location. This is a good skill to have if you're playing competitive. If you need to go out there like ranked or clan battles where you need to have information, if you're that kind of destroyer that has to hunt down other destroyers, then yes, this is a great skill to have. You have to use 4 points for it though, so it may suffer on something else down here that you'd like to have. But then radio location is that what you see on the mini map, as well as that, that arc that you see on the center of the screen. It's like an arc and a directional range finding. It basically points in the direction of the closest ship to you. And normally I would use this to go hunt down destroyers in ranked or competitive. Most likely the ones that are faster, like a Smalland, or let's see, maybe a Vampire, but they're slow as well. The only fast destroyer that can really go out and hunt people, is maybe the Marceau is probably one of them. and maybe a Z52 and a Z42. Those are the other fast destroyers, and that's a bit. Those are the only really 2 or 3 that I would use radio location finder to go hunt down things. But outside of that, I really don't need it as much anymore. I find that I can just do it enough just by going about my business, and normally people find me. So again, it depends on what you want to play, right? The one I really do enjoy for a lot of my gunboat destroyers out here that are more open water, because open water means as soon as you get spotted, boom, this takes into effect. It's called Fearless Brawler. So what is Fearless Brawler? It says as soon as you get spotted and you're detected by the enemy, you get a main battery reload time of minus 10%. That is phenomenal. Think about it, 10%. So you basically just take your gun reel here, 1.3, take 10% off of that. Well, smaller numbers, 10%, and obviously a small number, a percentage of that is a small number. So this plays into a factor of more of the gunboats that are like 3 to 4 second reloads, that it really helps out. That 10% really does help out a lot. And if you're always perma-spotted anyways, for example, a Ragnar to Smallin, you're always spotted because why? You don't have smoke. So as soon as you get detected, boom, you're firing. You're always going to be needing this. Yo Yang's a good one, too, if you're doing the radar build. Marceau, Kleber always being spotted, and those are great as well. Hull, always open water gunboating. Might as well use it. Cabros, always open water gunboating. Have that Fearless Brawler. Sherman's questionable. You can do it. Haragumo, you can do it if you want to open water gunboat, but they have smoke. Rigola, no, that's smoke as well. Bazan, maybe. That's also smoke. Vampire, smoke. Yeah, majority of the ones that this plays really into a part is the ones that are open water gunboating a lot. So that's where I would put Fearless Brawler. But if you have smoke and you can use a defense, these are worthless anyway. So if you're caught in the smoke, then you're not detected anymore majority of the time if you're not radar or hydroed. Then this doesn't actually kick in. You got to be spotted for this thing to work. So therefore, for the smoke destroyers, now you start playing around. Hey, what do I need? Do I need more of a range, or do I need more of survivability? So this is where those break down. And if majority of the time I see guys play Superintendent if they want extra smokes and hydro, that is a good one. I normally don't run Superintendent too many times because most of the stores have enough for what I need. And normally I don't really use everything throughout the battles anyways. Most battles only last 10 to 12 minutes, and I find myself not using everything anyway. So I kind of look around for other skills that I can use to help out the team more on the offensive capability side. Now, these other two, I would say this row right here are really, really critical for my playstyle that I really do enjoy. So I have obviously the reload is good for like gearing or torpedo-focused heavy like Yo Yang. Heavy-focused torpedo builds like Shimakaze as well. This is a good one. But for the ones that have the 30 mil pen and above, for example, Haragumo has like a main battery that pens 30 mil. You also have that are baked into the guns right away. Ragnar has it. Let's see, who else do I think about it? Maybe, actually, it's just Z52 potentially. He has baked 32 mil. So if you want to cross over a threshold to start pinning something higher than 30 and 32 mil, then IFHE is also good, but you reduce your fire chance, as you can see right there. So again, IFHE, main armor penetration, is plus 25%. Capability means you just take whatever you're pinning, like for example here, 21 mil. You add this on, and look what it does. It says, now I can pen 26. Not enough anyways. That's a waste. This is more for those destroyers that are up 30 mil pen range and above. So you can cross a certain threshold of penning 32 mil, which is what most bows at tier 10 are made out of, and above. So that's kind of how I look at that. So if your destroyer has that capability, this is good for you if you want to play that. Again, you lose your fire chance by half, as you can see in the red right there. The other one is also a great one, the extra heavy ammunition, which means your AP shell damage goes up by 7.5%. And at no cost to you, it's only 2 points. It's a great, great skill to have. This is more heavily focused on ships that really focus on AP. For example, Hull focuses on AP a lot. Z42, very a definite must. Z52, also a great one to have because why AP? I mean, the German AP is very, very strong. Druid is a must as well because you're using AP the whole time. That's all you have. What's another AP-focused ship? I think Vampire, I can run it if you want to play that style. And, of course, Elbing. Elbing is a definite game changer with this thing on. I mean, basically, your focus on hit is armor piercing, so why not make your shells even more powerful that way as well? So those three skills right here are very important on the last few points. Again, Depends on what you're trying to play at, right? But you notice if I pick this right here, already it takes up 4 points, and now I'm only left with 1 point left. And again, that requires, what else can I do with 1 point left? Just the top row. So you'd make that determination of what Fearless Brawler or range can do for you. That's kind of how I focus on these two skills right here. It depends on what destroyer I'm picking. This one over here, the Dazzle, I don't see many people play it. A dispersion of shells fired to you. It basically means the ship is less likely to be hit for plus 20%, or only 15 seconds though. So it only is active for 15 seconds after you've been spotted. So why can't it just be constant? Whatever. Then why pick it? Then I don't really see many people spending 4 points on this thing. This one and that swift and silent one, yeah, those are to me are wastes unless you're running super just don't fire your guns. You're focused on torpedoes like Shimakaze players. That's probably good for you, but I normally like the Fearless Brawler, the range, and those are the two focus ones on the back row with Concealment. Now, again, you can play, if you want more of the back row here, you just got to sacrifice Concealment and maybe play with these two right here for the open water gunboats. Because if you're already open watering, you're going to be spotted anyways, rendering Concealment worthless anyway. So it doesn't matter. Like Cabros, your detectability is out to 8 and 0.7. So does it really matter if I'm saving 10% on that? I mean, everything outspots me anyways, right? So I already talked about the heavy AP, the IFHE, torpedo reloads, and of course Superintendent. These other ones, I really rarely see people pick too many of them. Like I said, we already talked about priority target. If you want to have longer smoke and hydro, there's the consumable enhancement. That is up to you. Some destroyers do maybe want that, and because they have nothing else to spend, that's a good selection. For the torpedo-focused guys, this is just 5% extra torpedo speed. This plays in well to Holland. I normally equip that on Holland, but outside of that, I really don't care about the speed of many other destroyers out there, maybe Gearing and maybe Yo-Yang. But again, I literally, Holland is the best for this skill right here. And, of course, Demolition Expert. Again, what's 1% extra fire chance on my guns? Do I really care about that? Whatever. I'm just going to shoot the target more and more often, and it'll start fires. I can also compensate this with flags as well. So that's it pretty much for how I go about my thought process on building. But the basic style builds is this right here. Here's the best starting point for most destroyers is incoming fire alerts, last stand, survivability, and then concealment. Definitely adrenaline rush always, because you're always going to get shot at. You're always going to lose health. Why not take this? And, of course, you start going down the path of, do I want to focus on torpedoes or do I want to focus on guns, which majority of the destroyers have guns, so why not build for guns? And, of course, if you want to enhance those guns, Fearless Brawler is another one. If you want to play more of a standoffish, survivability, concealment, go cap, spot, and torpedo, and maybe occasionally shoot your gun here and there, then obviously Superintendent, and then this second row is good for you as well. So that's kind of my breakdown. And again, I always put the builds of my videos with my destroyers at the end of all my videos, so you can see how I build for that particular destroyer and that particular gameplay. And I hope that helps you out as to my thought process, and maybe helps your thought process. And you guys let me know in the comments, like, what do you guys do? What do you guys prefer? What path do you guys go down? And maybe I'm going about this the wrong way, or what are your thoughts of how you would go down? Leave it in the comments to share with other people to start the discussion as to how do you kind of go about starting your build for destroyers. But again, as always, hope you guys are doing well. Stay safe out there. Make sure you say hello when you see me out there, and take care. Until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.